Hey guys, it is great to see you guys tonight in what is our next to last time that we're going to be joining together online here on Monday night at 7 o'clock because starting on August the 2nd, we will have full children programming that will be back at Stuttgart Harvest Church. We're excited about that. We're excited to get to see you guys. But until then, of course, we've got a couple of more weeks that we're going to be spending time online, and we're going to get started tonight first by talking to our preschool age kiddos in what we call First Look. So if you've never been a part of what we do at Stuttgart Harvest Church, for our little guys, our nursery all the way through about kindergarten, we call those guys our First Lookers. That's our preschool age kids. And we're going to get started tonight by, we've got a really cool story, a really, really interesting story, completely true story about a guy by the name of Paul. But before we talk about Paul, we've got to remember, who can we trust? And if you're a first looker, you know that we can trust Jesus. And the reason that we can trust Jesus is, first of all, because the Bible talks all about some amazing things that Jesus did while he was alive. And in fact, one of those things that it talks about, we find it for our memory verse this month in First Look. And it's all about I spy. So right now, can you look around and do you spy a Bible? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But inside of that Bible, if you've spied it, you can open it up to the book of John. And we're going to go ahead and put that up on the screen, and we're going to read our memory verse for this month, which is John chapter 20, verse 31. And it says, "These are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God." Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. And that is why we can believe that we can trust Jesus. So who can you trust? I hope you said, I can trust Jesus. And we've got an awesome true story from the Bible tonight that we're going to be talking about somebody that had to trust Jesus. And it's a man by the name of Paul. And we've talked about Paul quite a bit over the last few weeks. And Paul, he had to go toward the end of his life. Paul went to the city of Rome, a really, really big town. And while he was there, he spied a lot of things. But really the main thing that Paul had to spy is that he could trust Jesus. So let's go ahead and let's watch this true story from the Bible about a man named Paul.
Just follow me through. Hoo, hoo.
Follow me through, follow me through. Always got a Bible story for me and you.
I spy a mailbox. Oh, hi friends. I'm Justin the mailman, and I'm ready for a game of I Spy. Can you show me your I Spy eyes like this? Looking good. I think we're ready. I've got the story mail. Our true story is about a man named Paul. Paul believed in Jesus. He wrote letters telling people that Jesus is alive. Some of those letters are right here in the Bible. Paul also traveled to cities to tell people Jesus is alive. One of those cities was called Rome. Rome was a big, beautiful city, and lots of people lived there. Do you see a big, beautiful city with lots of people? Look with me. I spy with my little eye a big, beautiful city with lots of people. The people in Rome were very smart, and they liked to talk about important things. So while Paul was in Rome, he talked with the people about Jesus. Paul knew that nothing is more important than Jesus. Lots and lots of people came to hear what Paul had to say about Jesus. He would start talking about Jesus when the sun came up early in the morning. Do you see the sun coming up? Help me look for it. I spy with my little eye the morning sun. And Paul would keep talking about Jesus until the sun went down and the moon came up late at night. Do you see the moon? Help me look for it. I spy with my little eye the moon. Paul told the people that Jesus is telling the truth. Jesus is telling the truth when he says he's God's son. Jesus is telling the truth when he says if you believe in him, you will be his friend forever. Jesus is telling the truth when he says he loves us and will never leave us. Everything Jesus says is the truth, so we can believe him. Do you see someone who tells the truth? I spy with my little eye Jesus. Many of the people who heard what Paul said about Jesus believed in Jesus and decided to follow him. And because Jesus tells the truth, we can believe in him too. Oh, hey there, Ollie. Tell me, who can believe in Jesus?
I can believe in Jesus. Yes, it's true. Now let's hear it from you. Tell me, who can believe in Jesus?
I can believe in Jesus. That's the truth, friends. You better believe it. I'll see you next time.
Who can trust Jesus? I can trust Jesus. And Paul knew that as well because he experienced a lot in his life. And on that trip to Rome, Paul found out that he could believe in Jesus. And right now, we hope that you guys can always remember and you understand right now for a long time that you can believe in Jesus too. And we've got some really good small group activities that we would love for you to do right now as a family. If you received those from us at church yesterday, or if you received a digital copy from me at some point today, we'd encourage you, go ahead as a family and get into those small group activities right now. Thanks for watching First Lookers. Remember, 2 more weeks, and we'll be back here in our First Look ministry on August the 2nd, and we'll get to see each other face to face, or well, maybe mask to mask, and that's coming up very soon. So hopefully you guys are gonna get started on that small group information. And for our school age kids, our 252, hang around for about 30 seconds because your time is coming up in about 30 seconds. Focus. We're talking about focus this month in 252. Take a closer look. And what are we focusing on this month? Well, we're focusing on our life app, which is faith. Trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see. Faith. Trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see. You see, we've got a lot of really cool first-hand primary source accounts of things that Jesus did while he walked around on this earth. And because they tell us all about it, and we can read about it, then we can have faith that it actually happened. Not just faith in something that we don't know if it happened. We have faith in something that we know happened because people wrote down that it happened. So that's our life app, is faith. And then we've got a pretty good Bible story today or tonight that is going to illustrate faith, which is, again, just like what we talked about in First Look. It's about Paul and his trip to Rome. Now, Paul had to experience a lot of stuff in his life. Now, don't forget, Paul started out as a man by the name of Saul, and he actually persecuted Christians. He actually wasn't very nice to people that believed that Jesus really was who he said he was, but he changed his mind when he met Jesus on the road to a city called Damascus, and from that point forward, Paul told everybody that he could about Jesus, and as a result, Paul experienced some really harsh things. He was beaten up. He was taken to prison, just all kinds of stuff. And this story that we're going to talk about tonight is actually the very last, one of the last events of Paul's life, because Paul is actually going to Rome where he's going to stand trial and he's eventually going to be executed. And that trip to Rome was really tough on Paul. It was really tough on everybody because he on a boat trip and the seas were pretty rough and he shipwrecked, and it was just a crazy experience for Paul. So we're going to go ahead and throw that story up now, a real true story that actually happened, all about Paul and his trip, his last trip to the city of Rome.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Acts, chapters 27 and 28.
Paul faced many difficult days because he taught so boldly about Jesus. He was beaten, made fun of, thrown into jail, and run out of town. At last, in Jerusalem, Paul was arrested by Roman soldiers after a mob tried to kill him.
He speaks against our law!
Get rid of that guy!
Paul paced in his prison cell. The Lord stood next to him.
Be brave. You have told people about me in Jerusalem. You must do the same in Rome.
Because a group of Jews were plotting to kill him, Paul was taken to the governor in Caesarea. From there, he was ordered to Rome to stand trial before Caesar. Then, he was handed off to a Roman commander for the sea journey.
I am Julius of the Imperial Guard. I am very imperious, but also a reasonable human being.
Glad to hear it. Julius allowed Paul to visit with friends as they stopped at the port city of Sidon. From there, they sailed around Cyprus, transferred to a ship from Egypt, carrying grain to Italy. The ship fought against the wind for many days until they arrived in a town on the island of Crete called Fair Havens. It was already well into October, a risky time for sea travel.
Men, I can see that our trip is going to be dangerous. The ship will be lost, and our own lives will be in danger.
A reasonable concern.
The pilot and ship's owner wanted to reach a better harbor for the winter.
Pish posh. We can make it to Phoenix.
Well,
Feel that? Gentle southerly breeze. Perfection.
we leave at once.
Anchors away! But very soon, the gentle breeze transformed. Within a short time, the wind beat against the ship with the strength of a hurricane. The pilot gave up fighting the gale.
Hoist the lifeboat. Secure ropes around the bow. Jettison the cargo.
In the midst of the chaos, the Lord sent an angel to Paul. The next morning, Paul withstood the storm to encourage the crew and passengers. 276 people.
First, not to say I told you so, but I told you so. Second, not a problem. Last night an angel from God told me, do not be afraid, Paul. You must go on trial in front of Caesar. God has shown his grace by sparing the lives of all those sailing with you. But we must run the ship onto an island.
On the 14th night of the storm, the sailors realized they were nearing land. The water's only 90 feet deep here!
Drop the anchor.
The crew was so afraid of crashing against the rocks that they lowered the lifeboats, planning to escape and leave the passengers.
Julius, these men must stay with the ship. If they don't, you can't be saved.
A reasonable request. Cut the ropes.
The soldiers cut the ropes so the crew could not escape. Just before dawn, Paul gathered everyone on board, shouting above the wind.
Not a problem. None of you will lose a single hair from your head. Now, I'm asking you to eat so you can live.
Paul took bread and thanked God. He then broke the bread and ate it. Everyone was filled with hope while they had some food to eat as the gray morning dawned.
There's the beach! Lift the anchors and we'll run her aground!
But as the pilot steered desperately for shore, the ship hit a sandbar and began to break into pieces. The soldiers were planning to kill Paul and the other prisoners to keep them from swimming to freedom.
Stop! Don't hurt them! Paul must live! Everyone overboard! Swim to land or grab a piece of the wreckage!
Miraculously, everyone made it to shore, just as God had promised.
Welcome to Malta.
The people of Malta were unusually kind as they built a fire to welcome this large group of wet and stranded visitors.
I'll fetch some more firewood.
Paul tossed sticks into the fire. Then, a deadly snake slithered out and sunk his teeth into Paul's hand.
This man must be a murderer. The gods won't let him live.
Not a problem. Totally fine.
Paul simply shook the snake into the fire. When the people saw he was unharmed, they decided he was a god. Publius, a chief official, welcomed Paul and the others into his home.
Take whatever you need.
Paul discovered that Publius, his father, was very sick, so he prayed.
Jesus, please, heal this man.
Publius, his father, was made well. All the sick people on the island flocked to see Paul, and they too were healed. Paul had so much respect on Malta that when it was time to leave, the people of Malta gave him all the supplies they needed.
Bon voyage!
At long last, Paul neared Rome. The believers had heard he was on his way and traveled to meet him.
Welcome to Rome!
I thank God for you all.
In Rome, Paul was allowed to live in his own home, under guard. For 2 years, he welcomed anyone who came to see him. He told Jews and Gentiles alike the good news of Jesus, just as God promised he would.
Paul experienced some problems, a lot of problems. I mean, Paul was shipwrecked, he was beaten, he was imprisoned, he was bitten by a snake. Paul experienced some major problems in his life while he was serving Jesus, as well as anybody that has ever lived. And yet he still experienced a lot of problems. But Paul understood our bottom line tonight. He understood that knowing Jesus changes the way you see your problems. It changes the way you look at things. It changes your perspective. Doesn't make the problems go away. We're still going to have problems. In fact, if we're really following Jesus, we might even have more problems sometimes. But it changes our perspective, and it changes the way we look at our problems. It changes the way we see our problems, knowing Jesus does. And so Paul's a great example of that. And if you follow Jesus for very long, hopefully you kind of understand what that means, how knowing Jesus changes everything. Now, right now, hopefully you've got that small group information ready. You can go ahead and get started as a family talking about those small group activities to kind of piggyback on what we've talked about here tonight. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, August 2nd, we're going to be back together live at the Worship Theater here at Stuttgart Harvest Church. But until then, next Monday night, 7 o'clock, we're going to get together again, and we're going to finish up our July series on the topic of focus. Take a closer look, and faith, trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see. See you guys next week.